Welcome to Whispered Hiring, the podcast where we talk with senior leaders about how they find, vet, attract, and grow go-to-market talent. I'm Andy Mowat, founder of Whispered. Today, I'm joined by Adam Kuznia. Adam started his career in marketing, then moved to CS and services. Um, Seems like started mostly around marketing, Adam, and then also picked up sales as well too. So Adam knows kind of all roles within the GTM spectrum. And I think I saw on your LinkedIn profile, Adam, you also run RevOps now too. So you get the trifecta times an extra one there as well too.
Yes.
Congratulations. Great to have you.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Andy.
Maybe we kick it off with like, since you've had the experience around all aspects of GTM, what is the hardest to hire for?
I think on a senior level or even middle management and up, but I'll isolate the senior right now. I think that's marketing, honestly. Like when you think about the challenge on the commercial side is you generally speaking, everyone thinks they can do CS better. Everyone thinks they can do sales better. Marketing is the easiest one. Anyone can look at a sentence and say, I could do better than that. So marketing, the bar is always being raised by the people interviewing you or with a point of view. And that one's hard because there's a plethora of people with a point of view there. And you just can't beat it. That's the hard one.
I agree. It's also probably the hardest to measure in some ways, right? Like great marketing is not more paid, more SEO. It's you've got to think differently, stand out, do creative things. Everyone is trying to run the same plays in marketing. Is going to end up in the same kind of like commodity
Yeah,
space. But
precisely. Plus,
yeah.
it's also the context, right? Like you could run a wildly successful marketing campaign at company A and show it as a case study when you're interviewing company B, but company B says, "Listen, this is not right. This is not good for us." Like interviewing for marketing, you lose context. That's the part that you forget about.
Yeah, for me, it's always been I need somebody that can bring pattern recognition, but is not going to get stuck on their old plays. How do you interview for marketing?
I mean, I think on marketing, generally speaking, you fall on one of two sides. You're a math-based marketer or a
Hmm.
story-based.
Yep.
And for me, as someone who's operated at that intersection, at the go-to-market intersection of sales, CS, and marketing, like I see the world as a math problem.
Hmm.
So when I step in those marketing interviews, I want to have a math-based conversation first and saying like, okay, do we have a shared sense of reality? What's important? What's not important? At some organizations, the MQL motion is great. At other organizations, it doesn't make any sense. So first, what I'm honestly looking for is can we turn marketing into a math problem? And if we can do that, then we can add color to the picture, right? We can add different hues to figure out what should this really look like. Because often what you have is story marketers sound good, they look great on stage, but I'm really looking for that shared reality, and I think it comes mathematically. That's what I'm always looking to start. That's what I'm looking to build that foundation on is math.
I like that a lot. It's dangerous though, because sometimes the real, as I said before, like the real superpower in marketing can be thinking out of the box or doing creative things or running interesting experiments, and it may not be math based, right? Like sometimes you just have, I actually maybe some of the greatest marketing is I was thinking back to like Ramp, right, where they're now literally sponsoring every podcast except ours. We'll get them
Yeah, yeah.
soon.
Not yet.
And I remember somebody told me that like a year ago, they're like, all those third tier podcasts, the ROI is huge on those. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
a lot of these are math based, but it's also having the confidence to try something that makes no sense and
Yeah, yeah.
see it
But
work as well too.
even then, like I do a lot of shit that makes no sense. The question I hope someone asks me is, what is your hypothesis, and by when do you hope to achieve what? Right? Like I know if I put a turkey in the oven, I shouldn't open the door every 30 minutes. It lets the heat out. So the question is, how often am I going to check the temperature of the turkey? And as long as I know what I'm looking for over the course of time, it will be ready when it should be ready. But me not understanding the actual math problem underneath that, I'm either undercooking or overcooking that bird, no doubt.
So that's an interesting one. I mean, so many people right now, you hear CEOs say, I just want to hire the high slope young person that will figure it all out. Now, especially with AI, and they're forgetting about the pattern recognition, right? But somebody that's seen the math problem 3 or 4 times, you can be like, yeah, don't do that because it's just stupid, um, is important. So how do you balance that high slope potential with, experience and seen it before?
That's a good question. So a couple orgs ago, we had a marketing growth team, which was completely isolated from the actual marketing organization, right? And what this was a couple different people. It was a growth engineer, so like a kid, fresh, 26, 28 years old, who's hungry as all hell and wants to sprint. They've got the legs for it. And then they were partnered with a senior marketer who said, like, okay, I've seen this movie many times before. I've worked B2B, I've seen the B2C, I've seen the B2C to B motion. And when you lock the two of them together, and you have to isolate them because as soon as as soon as they're on top of the Titanic, that thing doesn't move. They've got to be in a scout boat 100 yards out. And when they can do that, they're not only informing marketing, but they're informing product roadmap, like customer engagement profiles, things like that. So I think the move in that case is how do you have that senior level gravitas I've seen in the movie before, and how do you lock them up next to someone who's got endless energy? Their legs are strong still.
Yes,
That's the
I
power.
would I would agree. And then how do you free them from the bureaucracy? Like we've both been in bigger orgs where things will just slow you down and crush you. I think marketing in particular gets really interesting because with AI now, instead of having to have there's the design person, there's the creative person, there's all of
Yeah,
these others, you can have a single, like a full stack marketer that, if they're
yeah.
set up right, can be really effective.
Listen, what used to be a marketing team meeting of 20 people is a one-on-one now.
It should be in a
It's
lot of
kind of
cases. I
beautiful.
mean, yeah, it's I do feel for a lot of marketers right now
Yeah,
because the market is churning so
yeah. I mean,
fast.
don't get me wrong. It's a vast oversimplification. Like I'm not here to say that like all marketers can be replaced, whatever. I mean, that's true of every organization, every role. It's just we happen to pick that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the one that's going through the most turmoil. Plus, as you said earlier, anyone can think they can be a great marketer,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
Like,
exactly. Write me the world's most beautiful sentence. I could debate why it's not that good.
yeah. Maybe shifting gears a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, how do you think about hi the idea really of like, okay, cool, you've designed a role. Maybe we'll skip over since we talked before we hit record on like, you can talk forever around how you design a role and it's never
Yeah,
perfect
yeah,
and you're
yeah.
going to learn through the process. But once you kind of figure out what role you need, what do you do, right? Like generally what I see people do is they'll ping their network with the four people in LinkedIn that have that experience of like, hey, I'm looking for this. Can we talk? Who do you know? And when that runs out, they don't really, they kind of figure it out. But I'm curious, like, what's your approach for sourcing, finding great talent at that director and up level?
I know this sounds crazy, but if you write a role, if you write a JD, and you get everyone internally to align on it, which is half the battle, and then
Yeah.
you go to your network, you're 10 years too late, honestly. What you should have been doing this whole time is maintaining those relationships over the course of your career.
Yep. Yep.
And
I agree.
that's failure. So the ship sailed a decade ago. You missed it. You didn't even know it was sailing. So like the question that we should be asking ourselves is like, listen, 5 years from now, I'm going to need to hire a marketer. 10 years from now, I will. Who's in my network now that I'm still going to have a relationship with then, or that can point me to people? For about a 5 to 10 year period, I took a bunch of calls from recruiters, even though I wasn't looking for a job. And I only did that because I think it's important to pay back, right? Like software raised me for the past 20 years. The least I could do is find out what roles are available in the field and then connect people to those roles. I don't think that we give enough gravity to that when we're not looking for a role.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, you always ask recruiters always get asked, and we bring a lot of them onto huddles and panels. Like, how did people stay in touch with you? And the answer is simple. It's like, send me great candidates, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or and a lot of people don't do that. And I think a lot of people get into their role, and these roles are all consuming. And then we have our families, and we don't have time to build our networks. I think
Precisely.
it's a big challenge for 90% of people. So other than recruiters and building those relationships, which I 100% agree with, like pick your top 5 to 7 recruiters and take their calls and send them great candidates and just have a banter back and forth.
Yeah, yeah.
Are there other ways that you kind of keep your network warm to be able to hire?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always about value, honestly. Like as an example, a buddy of mine who used to work for me, he's in the market right now, and he reached out and said, "Hey, listen, I'm looking for a new gig. I'm not looking for a gig, but I reached out to the last 5, 10 recruiters that reached out to me. But it's about value. Every time I talk to that buddy of mine, I try to add as much value as I can to him and him to me as well, so that he knows when that phone rings, he sees my name on it. There's something for him, and it's not a job. It's a I don't know a good essay. Maybe it's a good conversation. I'm not sure what that is. But it's not done on a holistic. The way I personally do it is not to set a reminder on my calendar. Hey, send Marty a note at 3 p.m. It's like the holidays. People, for some weird reason, buy a gift for someone in December for Christmas. But what they should be doing is keeping that person top of mind all year long. And if you find something nice in July, buy it for them. Whether you give it to them in July or December, I don't care. But the point is that you had value in mind all throughout the year, not just when December rolled around.
I like that a lot. I think I kind of break that into two. One is whenever I'm talking to somebody, assuming they're of a certain like level and they're also engaging and giving as well too. I'm always listening and trying to think of people I can connect them with. But the other thing that I do is, which I think you touched on a little bit, was if I think of somebody, I try to drop them a note,
Yeah,
right? Like it's like I'm walking down the street, I'm like, hey, I thought of that guy. Like, let me send him something right now.
yeah. Hey
Doesn't
man,
have to be
hope all
much.
is well. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Thought of
it.
you this week because I was looking at the stars and like your name happens to be Estrella or something
Yeah,
like that. I don't
exactly,
know.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. It's not
yeah.
that much level of effort.
One thing you don't do, at least I on a quick observation before we hopped on today, you don't post much on LinkedIn. You don't build your own personal brand. How do you think about that?
I mean, to be honest, like I go through spurts. There's sometimes that I post a ton when I
Hmm.
feel like I have things on my mind. I went through a sprint of reading 50 books a year, 80 books a year for the past like 3, 4, 5 years. I had a lot to say. Other times, not so much. So I comment when I think it's appropriate, or I share when I think it's appropriate. Yeah, most of the time I do it on a smaller scale. I send a ton of LinkedIn DMs, right? And yeah, I'll read a good book, I'll read a good essay, and I'll send it to someone saying, "Hey, this is for you." Because the value, for me personally, it's so much better on a one-to-one basis. I
I
also
couldn't.
think there's an illusion, right? There's an illusion if I give every single update, it's the illusion of closeness. If I give every single update on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, it doesn't really matter, then you know what's going on in my life, and we don't really have the need to engage like that on a one-to-one basis.
Hmm,
But when I don't do that, right? Then you're like, Adam, how have you been? What's going on? But all my pictures of Italy or France, wherever I was, doesn't matter. When they're all there, you don't care. But if I'm like, hey, Andy, we haven't caught up for a while. I just got back from France. You'd be like, get out. Let's talk about it. Or you'd be like, yeah, I saw the images. We're good.
that's cool. I like that. By the way, the LinkedIn DMs, I used to curse them. I was always overloaded. Now these voice notes have totally changed it for me
Oh,
because
so
I
good.
can just sit there and I can.
So good.
I had a guy come back to me today. He's like, "How'd you do that voice note?" I'm like, they finally figured out
People
how to
didn't know
fix
about
it.
that for a while. A beautiful part of my career, by the way. I worked for a company called Sales Impact Academy, which I spent most
Mhm.
of my time with VP of CS, VP of Sales, VP of Marketing, trying to help them carve through their pipe. And a lot of that, it was great. Voice notes specifically was one of the greatest tools because it wasn't en masse. A fellow human had to stop for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, and do their thing and give you their pitch and say what had to be said. It was beautiful. Beautiful.
I agree. Every time I do it, it's like a way to stand out and stay in touch. And also, you can let somebody down if you can't help them in a nicer way too. Like, hey,
Yeah.
great to hear from you. Like, love the ask. Like, for the following reasons, I can't. Otherwise, I could spend like 20 minutes trying to write that message, or I could just do it from the heart and do it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. Okay, so you have this network. They're there. You kind of said it a couple minutes ago. If you write the GD and then you go to market, you're 10 years too late. How does it change if you've done what Adam's been doing around building out his network? Like, how do you? I mean, so now you know the role you need to hire for. How do you approach it differently?
Yeah, so I mean, in that case, what I'm really doing is I'm tapping into my network, but I'm really looking probably for a first order connection. I would love it, but it's really about a second or third. So like I still have monthly one-on-ones with most of my direct reports for the past 15 years.
Dude, that's
Still to
great.
this day. And if you said, hey, what is person A or what has person B been thinking about for the past year? I can tell you that.
You said monthly?
Yeah, monthly.
Wow. I'm not as good as you, but I try. And do you have one-on-ones with the people you reported to as well too, or do you focus
Oh,
more on
so
like the
yeah.
people? Yeah.
And listen, some of the conversation is like, what books are you reading? Who have you talked to? Who should I meet? What's going on? What are you worried about? So I have a general sense of what's been on their mind and how that's been evolving, right? Like I know someone spent 5, 10 years in the direct-to-consumer market in a marketing role, and then they moved on to a B2B world. So I know if I got to find someone that understands the B to C to B conversion motion, it's her. She's the one.
I love
Or
it. So you've got this whole talent map in your head.
yeah, of course, of course, of course. But to be honest, the reason why it's not hard in my head is because they're human relationships. Like I would literally think, oh, I haven't talked to John recently. I'm gonna call him, and I had a call on Tuesday with him yesterday.
When do you deprioritize one of those? Like that's always been a challenge, right? Because yes, I've had a lot of people report to me over 15 years. Some people have been great, some people have been okay. Some people turn needy and asky and like they're looking for you for the answer rather than like Adam. I mean, they can show up and be like, Adam, I need a job versus like Adam, I'm looking at this, and this is how I sit and think. And so how do you triage that network over time?
Honestly, I think that's the most important question. And the most direct answer I can give you is I don't help them.
Hmm.
I help them help themselves.
Yeah.
It's actually much easier for that. Like when someone, if you think about it outside of the context of hiring, if someone's like, hey, I have this thing is not working, this product's not working. Like my answer is never like, okay, like let me talk to product. My answer is like, okay, well, when you told product this, what did they say?
Hmm.
So, or when someone says like, hey, I need a job, like, "Hey, listen, I need to be a foot taller. But like, why do you want a job? Or how do you want to spend your time? How do you not want to spend your time? So most of the time, it's just helping people think through their problems, and that's a value exchange. Honestly, it's super valuable for me. I get clarity in my own thoughts, and I can help them get clarity in theirs. So a lot of these, I don't leave with next steps or tasks. It's really just a conversation, a thought starter, a conversation starter for them. And they may say, "Hey, I need a job." I'm like, okay, here's how I would think about that problem. Here's how I would go about doing it. I can't do it for you. I can't give you a job. If I did, it would
Yeah.
be bad anyway.
So how does somebody break into the Atom network, right? Like if clearly if you've worked with somebody, you've shared, like you've fought together, you sat in the foxhole, you've shared experiences and memories, and now you're on Atom's like one-on-one every month type of deal. But if I'm like, man, this guy, I'm listening to him on the podcast, he's impressive. Like, how do I break through to get into his orbit, work for him one day, type of thing? Like, how do people do that?
You know what's interesting? I think about attributes a lot and where I spend my time and how I spend it. Um, and the attributes of the people that I like to spend my time with are people that are curious,
Yes,
right? People that are ready to challenge the status quo, not for the hell of it, just because they are optimist determinists. They're optimistic about the future and determined to make it that way. I'm interested in spending time with people who their words, their actions, and their beliefs are all aligned.
I like that.
And when I notice these attributes, I'm interested in developing the gravity so that we can work together on a time scale measured in decades, not weeks.
The other one I would add to that is they are a giver and a helper, and they're not just there when they need you.
Precisely.
I think that's one where I just gravitate towards people that are paying it forward.
Yeah,
And it may not be in this lifetime, it may not be with this person, but you can see those people that are transactional in nature.
yeah. You know what I'll also add? The skill I've noticed that is the most important when I work for someone or someone works for me, even though I think that, ideologically hierarchy is kind of nonsense, um,
Hmm.
is do you relieve stress of the person? It's as
Yes.
simple as that. Like, do I make my CEO stress go down, stay the same, or go up? And I hope the answer is down. And
So I'd heard an
find people
analogy
that
on that. Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
when you find people
go.
that bring it down, they're like, okay, let's stay together for a long time. And those people also learn what stresses you out. So people I've worked with 15 years, when they'll other colleagues will come to them like, hey, let's talk again about this, and that person will be like, no, 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 it's going to stress them out. I got this. I'll take care of it.
I've heard it a slightly different way, which is there is a wave in the ocean, and when that wave reaches me, I can either make it bigger or calm it down.
Precisely.
And if it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, like that's a person that I struggle with as well too, versus somebody that's there. How do you think about psychological safety?
Oh, it's the most
I
important thing ever.
think it is too, but I see these founders that are just like, I mean, I get called from execs every day. They're like crying. Like the founders have been told like you can drill into people, you can be as brutal as you want, and so it just feels so hard. I think Angela told me you guys have like a non-founder CEO now. I was like, oh, that's great, right? Like there's some degree of now you got an adult in the room that is making the right decisions. But I'm curious how you think about like the times when you haven't had psychological safety. How do you give it to your people? I agree. I mean, it kind of goes with your point about do you relieve stress or not?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen, I think that's the most important thing, a phrase I said twice today in account review. In an account review, I said to the team, like, listen, this is your safe space. You can say whatever you want. You can say, Adam, you annoy the shit out of me. You can say, CEO, you can say whatever you want. My role is to create the space. And the phrase I use a lot when I'm coaching people on how to do it is like, hey, listen, your role is to create space, okay? And then you step into it first, and then ask your colleague to join you in that space. You cannot demand that someone create the space themselves and then step in it first. You must do that. And if you do that first, then it's a much more inviting, welcome atmosphere for your colleague to step in with you. right? When you could think about it if you're reviewing an account. Hey team, listen, I could be way off base here. Here's what I'm a little worried about. Now feel free to tell me, Adam, don't be worried about that. Feel free to say, Adam, that's exactly the problem. Feel free to say, Adam, we have a lot bigger problems. It doesn't really matter, but I'm going to show my cards what I'm worried about. So there's no question behind the question. My worry is the margins in Q2. Let's talk about that.
I love that. It's also like being vulnerable as a leader actually
Precisely,
helps
precisely.
people engage you as well too.
Precisely. So when I can say my feelings first, when I can create that space, it's easy for people to join me in that space. But if I create it, I say go in that space, then I'll meet you there. It doesn't work like that.
I don't think many people think that deeply about it, but it's really it's well thought through. I agree. Shifting over maybe to interviewing and how you kind of evaluate talent. Do you have a favorite interview question or how do you approach interviews?
I mean, the interview question. I'll say this. It's really important for me to create the space to have fun in an interview. We spend a lot of time with each other, a lot of time. And if we can't have fun 45 minutes an hour interview, like, oh, I don't really know. And in throughout that, I'm trying to think like, okay, if I got locked up at an airport with you for a 10-hour delay, like, would we be good? Can we have a couple beers and not kill each other? So when it's a specific question, I don't think I don't hone in on something like that. What I'm really looking for is, do you have a strong opinion?
Hmm.
About anything, by the way. You can have a strong opinion that like the standard size of the door is incorrect. Okay, whatever, I don't care. But why do you think that? And what lead you to believe this? And how do you question it? Right? So I'm wondering, how do you hold opinions? And then the second thing I'm looking for is, what can we disagree on?
Hmm.
And sometimes, by the way, I'll hold an opinion in that interview that I don't actually hold outside of the interview. I'm using it to create space. Like I would say, listen, I don't believe marketing should be a math problem. I just don't believe that, right? And even though I do, but I'm trying to find an area where we can disagree and see how we can disagree. And is our disagreement linearly progressive or is it circular? And if we can make progress with a disagreement, then I'm in. Then I know all day long, if I say look left, you're going to look right or look at me and say, why are you looking left? I would want you to do that. So neither of us gets hit by a car in traffic.
I like that. Do you ever have, I mean, so it sounds like a person interviewing with you, if they're vanilla and they're just kind of answering the
It's
questions,
not
not,
going to go well.
yeah, it's not. Um, I like that. Any stories around like somebody you disagreed with and still hired or some kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
analogy experiences?
The one that comes to mind is probably like 4 or 5 companies ago. I was looking for a marketer for a long. I thought I was looking for a marketer for a long time. And it was interview after interview after interview. What I realized is we didn't even know what we were looking for, to be honest with you. Like I thought I wanted A, my CEO thought he wanted B, the head of products thought she wanted C. So like the first step, like get aligned internally. But I remember this is probably 2018. It's Q3. We just moved to an office at World Trade Center. I had a long day, and I finally someone says, "Hey, listen, can you have 20 minutes, 30 minutes to interview this person?" I was like, "All right, it's 5 o'clock. All right, whatever, I'll interview them." And I sit in this conference room, and my secret power is a whiteboard, right? Like that I use as a vehicle to communicate. I probably went through 4 markers in that meeting, and it was a high intensity back and forth challenge, just to see what we say. And I just before I left that meeting, I felt, you know what? I can't tell if I'm crazier than he is, and this is a good thing, or he's crazier than I am. Is that a good thing, or are them bad? I don't know. I leave that room. I go talk to my head of sales. I says, listen, I think I found a marketer, and I don't know if I'm spot on or wildly off. Wildly
Yeah.
off. My head of sales, Sam, went in, had the interview for about an hour or so. I stayed back at the office because I want to see his opinion. I was fired up about this. And I said, Sam, do you think I'm crazier than him or he's crazier than me? And Sam said, honestly, you're both fucking crazy. That's the answer. I said, oh, sounds like we got a hire on our hands. And then I did a secret move, which is what I typically do when I'm hiring executives. We went through, I made an offer, base plus variable, whatever he wanted, and I said, no, I'll give you more than that, way more, but way less of a base and way higher a variable. You want to do a dance? Let's do a dance.
Hmm.
And he said, let's dance. And I think we've worked together 3 jobs since then. He
Hmm.
consulted for me multiple times. What I found is someone that we could go back and forth high velocity with that was openly and ready to challenge every sentence. just to pressure test that we had a shared reality as our conversation moved. So there was no
Hmm.
point in that conversation. I realized that we were misaligned because at every single sentence you would clarify. And that interview, it was crazy. It was hectic. It was a half hour, 40 minutes, but a beautiful outcome that I wouldn't ask for anything different. He's become a great colleague, peer, friend of mine over the years.
So you can pick the people you hire. You can't necessarily always pick the people that you work for, right? Like you could join for a great CRO or CEO, but they could change. I think if I looked at the math right, your new CEO came in after you came in. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so like, have you ever been in situations where you found your style doesn't click with that person you've inherited, and how do you adjust to that? And I mean, it's similar. Like you figured out the types of people that you work with, and
Yeah,
how do you approach that? And it's kind of like the executive fit type of
yeah,
question.
yeah. I learned a really a powerful sentence from a book back in 2016, 2017, which is a question I ask on a regular basis, by the way, not just to the person who I work for, but those that work alongside me and for me. And that question is very simple. It is, what could I be doing better or differently to make me easier to work with?
Hmm. Yes,
And I ask
I
that
like
all
that.
the time. Like it's a very annoying question. If you called any of my colleagues and said, "What does Adam ask?" They're going to say that. Um, and I've learned many, many things about how to adjust my style. One CEO a couple companies ago um, wasn't English wasn't his primary language, and we're about a week in, and I said, "Is there anything better or differently I could do to make me easier to work with?" And he said, "I don't understand a word you say." I said, "Well, I
Because you
don't."
talk too fast. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, "You just talk way too fast." I understand English, obviously, but you talk too fast. So just talk slower and it's better for me. And I was like, oh, all right. So from then on, I knew how to engage with him just slower. And that was awesome. So repeating that question all the time on many different fronts, you learn a lot about your own style and other people's style and how to find that medium where I am who I am. My style is my style. And there
Hmm.
are flavors of that I can stand rough edges off, right? Or other edges I don't have to worry about. But asking that question allows me to constantly be true to myself and have allegiance or loyalty to the entity, not the human, but the entity.
I like that. I wrote my own user manual, which is great. And every time I do a peer review or 360, I'm always updating it. And then it's like to your point, like I am who I am. You can have different flavors of me. The other thing I do is I always give people a speech like, hey, when you move to a new town, and you've been in Jersey for a while, I'm guessing, but like if I come to New York, I'm going to try every restaurant out there. I'm going to poke
Yeah.
around. I'm going to try new districts. But at like day 60 to 90, I'm going to kind of find my neighborhood and I'm going to find my restaurants and I'm going to go back to the same places over and over and over again. So I give this speech to people at like day 15, and I'm like, own whatever our relationship is at day 90. You own it, we own it together. And so if you need to change something, now would be a great time to make that comment. Don't be annoyed by me, right? Like tell me
Yeah.
what I can do better. So I think I always love the I'm going to tell a story for 10 to 15 seconds to get them in the mindset. And so that's been very effective for me to kind of help also get people, not just Adam asking that question to others, but getting other people empowered to like come to me with those things too.
Plus, like honestly, I think often we think we're operating explicitly, but we're accidentally implicit. And there are categorically just two different expectations you have in the world: spoken expectations and unspoken ones. And knowing the difference between them is key.
Yes, I
So I
like
think,
that.
like, especially when I step into a role where I'm working for a new leader, like that's what I'm really after. How explicit can I get, and how can I manage take unspoken expectations and evolve them into spoken expectations? Life is so much easier.
It is, although a lot of people don't do that, but it's hard to sometimes have the maturity. But if you can call it out and make it a safe space, it works. Maybe just really quickly touching on the builders questions. I think we kind of touched on it before, but I'd love to kind of go a level deeper. Like in this world, everyone's trying to hire those high slope people that can move fast. Like, what are you looking for in addition to like the curiosity, the disagreements, and all that? Like, what else helps you kind of say to somebody like, "Hey, this person's going to be a high performer as well too."
That's a good question. I think when the attribute that I look for is someone who's unwilling to let inertia, bureaucracy get in the way.
Hmm.
Like ultimately, that's it, right? And when you are, which is a beautiful trait early on, and sometimes a dangerous trait later on. Like later on, what you often have are leaders that don't really challenge status quo because it's like it's how the world operates. But when you're a kid, it doesn't really matter. You kind of say fuck the rules. I don't know who made them up anyway, and I'm gonna break them, and I'm gonna break them. And if someone asks me why, I'll defend why. Like, listen, sometimes I pass people on a double solid line. I'd do it. But they're doing
Hmm.
30 miles an hour and the speed limit's 60. I will happily justify that. Happily do it. And that's okay. That's what you're looking for. Is someone who's willing to do maybe something that's going to bend the rules. Not break them, but bend them. And then
I
become
have some of those are some of my best people too. I had one person I hired, and it like he was literally bringing me brilliant ideas, pushing the envelope, but he was also telling people how stupid everybody was, right? And I had to sit him down at like the 30-day mark and basically say like, you are a fucking rock star, but you are also going to piss off everybody here if you can't balance the two of those things. So it's such an interesting one, and then if you put them too much in, I mean, the beautiful thing was he was just inherently that way, where he was constantly challenging, questioning, and doing stuff like that.
you
But
know,
to your point, it's like some of these people can be really good, but can they adapt to a larger company type of?
it's also about like leverage. And are they high leverage? Can they make everyone else around them better? A funny story in 2017, I built a bunch of orgs, sales, engineering, CS, whatever. We get a new CFO, a guy from Wall Street, and he worked there for like 3, 4 months. I got to know him okay. And he calls me out. He says, Adam, come to San Francisco. Let's have a meeting. I said, okay, that sounds good to go to San Francisco. He said, listen, you're doing an outstanding job. I was like, well, look at me. I'm doing a great job. He's like, every time I call someone, they say, call Adam. Adam solves this problem. Adam solves this problem. I said, wow, I'm happy about that. And then he says, you keep it up and I'll fucking can you. And I was like, what? What just happened? And he was like, listen, you're kind of the problem. You're not enabling those around you.
Yeah,
Everyone comes to you for answers. You're the bottleneck. If you're stuck on a plane, I got nothing. So we're not going to have this conversation again. You're going to read high output management and you're going to read linchpin. And then after you read those, come back to me. I said, okay, sounds good. I read those books. 2 days later, 3 days later, whatever, came back, said, listen, Pete, you're 100% right. I realized all signs point to me and I thought I was doing a good job, but I wasn't. So now when I think about that like high potential builder, it's like, hey, are you going to put the world on your back? Or are you going to take as much as you can, but also help everyone around you? And there's a huge difference between someone that's going to try to put on their back, but guess what? 6 months, their legs go bad. They're tired. They
I
don't
think
have
that's I think everyone learns that when they kind of go from like there was this great at Vox, the COO Dan he gave his speech. He's like, we believe very deeply in what a director and what a VP is here. We're not going to compromise. Like this is what they are, and I was like, okay, cool, whatever. But he's like, no, this is what they mean. I actually have written an article on like what director level means to me, and I get annoyed when you see like mistitled people. Right? To me, there are those things that you need to be able to do, and I think a big portion of it is when you go from director to VP you got to learn how to basically get out of people's way and empower people rather than do it yourself. And that's a hard thing for people to learn how to
of
do.
course. And well, I mean, also team one changes. Like if you're director of CS, director of sales, your team is the sales team. When you're VP of sales, your team is not team one anymore. The executives are. That is team one.
Yeah, you're looking at the company, you got the company hat on first
Totally
rather
different.
than
You ever read Honest to Greatness?
not recently, but I know
Oh,
the book.
very, very good book. And there's a model in there called the flawed executive diamond, in which what that does is it puts the executive at the top who makes all the decisions and all the things go down. But that's flawed. The
But that's
actual
found,
diamond.
okay, this is going to be fun. That's founder mode right now.
Yes,
If
yes,
you
yes.
read, I just wrote a piece, founder mode 2.com, which is effectively like a tongue in cheek on founder mode. I think it is so fundamentally flawed in so many ways. It enables bad behavior. CEOs just
Precisely.
go, if you need every executive to know the depth of every single thing at all times and be able to answer, and everyone's in everything, like the company's just going to grind to a halt. And then it ends up becoming this thing
Precisely.
where the founder knows everything, they can do whatever they want, and people get disempowered, right? Like what you just described is like the executive at the top, the classic of I hear this all the time and I get pissed off. It's like, bring all decisions to us. we're the place. We, and I'm just like, no,
Bring
like
nothing to me.
put push them down as far as possible. Like what I want to know is when there are problems and when you're struggling. I don't want to know when
Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
a like
What
an
you can, yeah,
obvious decision that gets made. And it's like I see so many executive careers ruined by founder mode.
yeah, yeah.
And and part of Whispered's quiet thing behind the scenes is we have a database of 10,000 companies where people can share what they learn on different companies. And we try our damnedest to make sure people don't go to those companies.
I mean, like when founder mode, when you don't realize that you're in it and you've been on it for a while and you don't know how to stop it or change it, it gets very, very dangerous.
It also feels really good, right? The VCs tell you you're great, you're the solve for everything, get your hands dirty. But I really respect those founders, and we just sent over a bunch of candidates to somebody for RevOps where they're $300 million right now, and I did some back checking before I sent over any folks, and they were like, yeah, this founder is the founder, but this person can be hands off
Yeah.
and empower people. He can still ask the right questions, but I was just like, wow, that sounds so refreshing.
Yeah, no, you have to kind of assume the people that know the most are prospects, and then after that, customers, then after that, employees, and after that, managers, and after that, executives. Like
True,
that is the
true.
order of which we have information. We should have the least as an executive, and we should just find ways to say yes and empower the people rather than saying come to me. It's
But
fundamental.
that is, I agree. I mean, there are benefits to founder mode,
Of
urgency
course,
and things
of
like
course.
that. But man, do I hate most of what it is empowered recently.
You're not wrong, my friend. You're not wrong.
Yeah. Well, maybe wrapping up because I know we could go for another hour, but I want to make sure we do kind of wrap this one up. I, who have who's impacted you most around hiring? And because you clearly think about this like structurally, philosophically and stuff like that. Like how have you learned and who have you learned the most from?
Um, that's a good question. I think I'm deeply interested in learning as a whole, to be honest with you. Like, I'm very interested in many things, but the human condition is one of them. There's a world where it is near impossible that humans exist. There's also a world where it was basically inevitable. I'm not
Mhm.
sure which one is true. And I think about that a lot. And I think that we are, as social people who spend a lot of time with each other in the workplace, it's really important for us to understand these relationship dynamics, which is why I care so much about it, honestly. I think if you can figure out why people operate the way they operate, life is much easier. You don't have to try to guess on many things. So part of the reason it's important to me is because I'm just curious about it. I care a lot, right? I've learned over the years, there's a couple people that I've spent time with that have interviewed me and that I've interviewed or I've watched interview that are in my tribe of mentors over the years that I still have one-on-ones with on a regular basis. Um, yeah, I think about my team at Percolate, great crew. Learned so much from them over there. I you know what I learned a ton about interviewing is product designers because they are curious and they know the way to ask questions to get a raw answer and not lead the witness on accident.
You are so right. I'm terrible at that, and I have a co-founder dating right now with somebody that's just phenomenal at that. Like I can put them in front of an audience or somebody to do it, and they will get the right answer out. Whereas I'm going to go for the answer I kind of want,
Yeah,
which is
exactly, exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
like what people learn the best interviewing fucking Oprah and Obama, like professional people that do this. Not just like
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying. Like if you really watch the dynamic of watch what do you call it? Watch JJ Redick and LeBron in Mind the Game interview. Stunning, stunning interviews. And in all of them, it goes back to what we talked about earlier. One of them creates space, steps in it, invites the other in it, and then everything else is easy.
Hmm. Well, it also makes it easy when you've got great guests, Adam. I mean, it's I love this one, man. As you said before we hit record, like I will be controversial. I'll push thinking, and it's exactly what we love on this one. So thank you, man.
Yeah, man, no problem,
If
no problem. I love this kind of shit. Love it.
we will continue the convo and the dialogue in many ways, but thanks for sharing your insights today.
Yeah, man, no problem, no problem.